Hello and welcome to the fourth session. Today we are going to talk about proteins, and please bear with me because it may sound a little bit complex and irrelevant, but it's of extreme importance to know these things when you are going to decide what kind of foods you want to grow for your nutrition. Now, as mentioned in the previous session, proteins are also polymers, just like carbohydrates. The difference is that, well, there are many differences actually between proteins and carbohydrates, but one major one is that unlike carbohydrates, which are made of the same units of glucose, in the case of proteins, you do have a chain, okay? But that chain is made of amino acids. Now, amino acid is a generic term. So unlike a glucose, there's one glucose. With amino acids, there are 22 different amino acids that are in our body. 22, not just one. However, out of those 22, there are 9 that are essential. Well, what about the other 13? The other 13 are needed, but the body can make them out of these 9. So if your diet is restricted to those 9, you don't need to worry, because those 9s enable our body to make the other 13. If you don't have those 9, then our diet is lacking. We will suffer from malnutrition. Will it kill us? I don't know. I really don't know, but these are really essential. So it is very important. Please note the relevance of this. If you want to grow something and eat it and rely on it as your source of food, you must make sure that this crop you're growing will have all the 9 essential amino acids. That's a basic, important knowledge to know. And, for fairness, in reality, you're not going to find one single crop that has all of these things in a good ratio. So maybe you'll need to combine 2 things. So what do we combine? What with what? It's so interesting. You know why? Because ancient cultures that are mainly vegan have developed this knowledge without them knowing about the essential amino acids. If you look at the Indian cuisine, you look at the Middle Eastern cuisine, you will find that they've got vegetarian dishes that just by virtue have all of those amino acids. How do they know? Of course they don't know. It was trial and error. But that's how those ancient cultures developed. So, the other thing about protein, and that's also a health issue, which is probably not very relevant, but I'm going to mention it here nonetheless. We talk in proteins about the primary, secondary, tertiary, and quaternary structures, because the protein is not just a thread like this. It's often a 3D shaped particle. So its secondary structure is how it twists around itself, how it forms a helix. And then the third structure is how it becomes like a 3D object, and then it becomes more like into the form that you want it to be in to perform the functions that you want it to perform. Like insulin is a protein. And if it loses this quaternary structure, it doesn't function anymore. And that's something that worries me personally, and I don't have any knowledge to back this up with. But if our enzymes are so specific, they will act on food if they identify it. And that food has to be presented to them in a way that is natural. Do they actually identify the protein if cooked in a microwave? I don't know. I really don't know. This is why personally, and I don't have anything to back this up with, it's just a hunch. I will never cook protein, animal protein, in a microwave, because I think that will denature it in a way that the body fails to be able to deal with it. Anyway, that's not really about what we're talking about. Okay, so back to those essential amino acids. Our body will take those amino acids. From them, it will make the other non-essential amino acids. And from these, it will reform our protein in our own way. Okay, so we take the protein, we break it down, and then we will rebuild it. And in the process, you know, some of it is lost, and it turns into, urine. It gets excreted in the urine. But the amino acids are not just parts of the protein. You know, they play a big part in the formation of DNA and RNA. They're important components for the building of these things. And actually, just on their own, something like lysine here, number one, it's a very strong antiviral, and it is used medically as an antiviral. They have amazing properties, you know, amino acids. They are, neurotransmitters in their own right, and they can be used therapeutically for many, many situations. Apart from that, number 8 here, tryptophan, is a very essential amino acid, very interesting one. And it is a precursor for serotonin. Now, you've heard the term serotonin, I'm sure. It's the happiness enzyme that we have, that our brain makes. So without tryptophan, we cannot have serotonin. And you can get tryptophan supplements. I'm not suggesting you do or recommending that you do. So it's very important that we understand these basic things and then try to focus and say, okay, look, I love corn, I love sweet potato, I love, sweet peas. Is it enough for me to grow these things for me to be able to get all of these amino acids, all of these essential amino acids? These are facts, important facts that we need to know in order for us to be able to decide, again, what to plant, what to put in our garden, because that's going to turn into food. We don't want just to forage and eat, not knowing if this is going to be nutritionally sufficient for us or not. Thank you for watching.